A few years ago, Alex's grandpa passed away. They had always been very close. This past July, on his birthday, Alex decided to visit his grandpa's grave. The cemetery where Alex's grandparents were buried was about an hour's drive from his apartment. His family, living closer, visited together, but Alex had to make the trip alone. The day was dreary and rainy, making the visit even more somber. At the cemetery gate, the keeper asked for the plot number, and Alex provided it before being let in. The cemetery was quite large, and Alex had only been there a couple of times before, never as the driver. Navigating the grounds was challenging. The place was nearly deserted, like due to the weather. After some time, Alex finally found his grandpa's grave. He parked the car on the grass nearby, laid some flowers under a stone, and stood there, eyes closed, praying. When Alex opened his eyes, he saw an old man standing about 5 rows away, directly across from him, staring right at him. It was unmistakably his grandpa. Alex rubbed his eyes, and the figure was gone. Whether it was a spiritual moment or just his mind playing tricks, Alex felt a chill and goosebumps all over. Freaked out, he got back in his car, whispered, "Love you, Grandpa," and drove away. On the way home, Alex developed a headache for no apparent reason. Driving down a quiet road that was flanked by dense forest and known for deer crossings, he noticed someone by the roadside. There were no sidewalks or paths there, so he slowed down. To his shock, the figure resembled his grandpa again. Heart pounding, Alex accidentally swerved. He fought to regain control and managed to stop without hitting a tree, the car skidding to a halt in the middle of the road. When he looked back, he saw a deer staring at his car. His heart raced and he was utterly terrified. Needing to get home, he checked for other cars, got back in his lane, and focused on driving, though he couldn't shake what he'd seen. The rest of the day felt off to Alex. He wasn't sick, but something wasn't right. He went to bed early after watching some TV. Around 2 in the morning, his phone rang, waking him up. The caller ID showed an unknown number. His heart raced again. Late night calls usually meant bad news. He answered, hearing only static at first. When he said hello, more static followed. Then for a brief moment, he thought he heard his grandpa's voice. Shaken, he tried to speak, but his body was trembling. The call cut off abruptly. The next day, Alex contacted his phone provider to trace the number, but they said there wasn't enough data to do so. Whether that was true or not, Alex couldn't say. Back when Donovan was a teenager, he and his friends did some really foolish things. This particular incident happened when he was around 13 or 14. It was October 30th, and Donovan wanted to do something spooky for Halloween. There was a small cemetery about 10 minutes from where he lived. One night, after drinking a bit too much with his friends, he suggested they sneak into the cemetery. His buddies for this adventure were Raph and Anna. Raph never drank, so he ended up driving them. They were hanging out at Raph's house when Donovan came up with the idea. Raph, being the sober one, drove them to the cemetery. Anna and Donovan were excited, but Raph just went along with it since he wasn't drunk. Raph parked in an empty lot across the street. It was past midnight and the place was deserted. Making sure no one was around, they climbed over the cemetery fence. The night wasn't completely dark, but it was hard to see more than 10 feet ahead. They used their iPhone flashlights to navigate. There didn't seem to be any security around, so they split up a bit. Raph stuck closer to Anna and Donovan could see their flashlights in the distance. Donovan wandered off a little further to start recording a creepy video. He turned on his flashlight and began filming the old headstones and the eerie atmosphere. After a while, he realized he couldn't see Anna and Raph anymore, so he started looking for them, still recording. When he glanced at his phone screen, Donovan froze. There was a woman in white gown with long gray hair looking down at the ground. He looked up from the screen, but she was gone. Panicking, he backed away and looked at his phone again. There she was, staring directly into the camera, or rather at him. He looked up from his phone, but she was gone. He checked his phone screen again, and now she was moving closer. Terrified, Donovan screamed for Anna and Raph and started running. He couldn't see their lights and they didn't respond. Thinking they might be trying to scare him, he sprinted back to the cemetery fence, climbed over, and ran to Raph's car. He texted them frantically, telling them to get out. Minutes later, they joined him in the car. Shaken, Donovan showed them the video. They looked as scared as he felt. Watching the video, they saw the woman slowly lift her head and start moving towards Donovan. She seemed to be floating with no visible leg movement. Donovan still has the video on his old iPhone 4S, but the phone is stuck on the Apple logo and won't turn on. He's hesitant to reset it, fearing he might lose the video. While his friends think the woman was just another person in the cemetery that night, Donovan isn't so sure. Seeing her only on his phone screen and not in person shook him to his core. He never believed in the paranormal until that night. Ethan is the manager of a cemetery. Part of his job is meeting with guests and family members of the deceased to arrange funerals, sell plots, and handle other cemetery operations. One day, a man named Samuel, a very spiritual Hispanic guy with a thick accent, came to Ethan to purchase a plot for his sick father, who was in hospice. Ethan could tell Samuel was a caring person just by looking at him. Samuel showed Ethan pictures of his father, who also seemed like a kind person, though he was much too young to pass away. Sadly, Samuel's father did die that same week, and Samuel arranged the funeral at Ethan's cemetery. It was a stormy day, which is considered good luck for a funeral. The procession stopped briefly at the front office, and Ethan and Samuel waved to each other from their vehicles before Ethan went back inside due to the weather. Ethan followed the procession to the burial site, umbrella in hand, to oversee the service. Afterward, he drove around the cemetery in his truck, checking the grounds as he routinely did. He had paperwork to complete and the cemetery to close up for the night. As Ethan was driving back to his office, he thought he saw someone hurry down a row of tombstones and disappear behind a hedge. He honked his horn but didn't see the person again. Curious, Ethan went to investigate, umbrella in hand, but found no one. Back at the office, Ethan reviewed the security footage, but it didn't show anything unusual, likely due to the storm. Then as he was working, Ethan heard the front door slam shut. He went to check it out, but the lobby was empty. Suddenly, Ethan spotted a man through the window, staring back at him with a blank expression. To Ethan's shock, the man resembled the photos of Samuel's father, but when Ethan ran outside, the man had vanished. Shaken, Ethan quickly packed up and left the cemetery, double-checking that he had locked up. At home, his wife noticed his quietness, but Ethan simply told her it had been a long day at work. The strange encounter continued to unsettle him, even if it was just his mind playing tricks. Which eerie encounter spooks you the most? Let us know in the comments section below. And if you have had any scary encounters, share your experiences with us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to FearFlix for more videos like this. Thanks for watching and see you at the next one.